I must acknowledge that inaugural session ended on a very auspicious note. Once again, I would like to thank Honorable Lieutenant Governor Delhi for sparing time and joining us here today. We will now proceed further with an interface session with heads of apex bodies. The same would be moderated by Professor Bharti Suri, University School of ICT. I would request Mrs. Suri to kindly take over.
On है on है स्पीकर ऑन on
Thank you, Namrata. Om Nata Nashanti Nadavati Taskaro Nasamavitro Bhiradare Kashati Devashyavi Yajate Dadati Cha Jogi Tatapi Sachate Govikasa. अर्थात विद्या अक्षय कोश है जो मनुष्य विद्याओं को सरकार पूर्वक ग्रहण करके संसार में फैलाता है वह यशस्वी होकर सदा आनंद भोगता है. A very good morning to all of you. It is my humble pleasure to extend a warm welcome to the illustrious dignitaries in the session and interface with officers from apex bodies. The theme for today's session is implementing strategies of National Education Policy 2020, holistic and multidisciplinary education with the technology integration. This is the first session of North Zone Vice Chancellor Meet 2020-21 by AIU, that's the Association of Indian Universities, being hosted by Guru Gobind Singh University. Since its inception in the year 1925, the Society Association of Indian Universities (AIU) is actively engaged in the growth and development of higher education. Its main objectives are to serve as an inter-university organization, to act as a liaison between the universities and the governments, and to act as the representatives of universities of India. Coordination and mutual consultation among the universities. To facilitate and meet our set objectives, AIU regularly organizes interface sessions with the heads of apex bodies and its Vice Chancellor meets. The purpose of the session is also to enable the heads of apex bodies to communicate their views and information of their relevant bodies to the Vice Chancellors. In the session, we are honored to have Colonel Dr. G. Thiruvasaga, Vice President AIU and Vice Chancellor AMET Chennai. We also with us present amongst us eminent speakers, Dr. Neeraj Saxena, Advisor AICTE, Dr. K. Rama, former Advisor NAC, and Dr. Ganesh Hegre, Advisor NAC. Before handing over the session to the chairman, I would like to briefly introduce Colonel Dr. G. Thiruvasaga. Colonel Dr. G. Thiruvasaga is currently serving as the second Vice Chancellor of Academy of Maritime Education and Training. He has a dynamic experience of 4 decades in career spanning 24 years as Professor of Commerce and Management and later appointed as Vice Chancellor for 2 consecutive terms of 2 eminent universities in Tamil Nadu. He obtained his PhD from Madurai Kamaraj University in the discipline of management and pursued his postdoctorate from the United Kingdom. He had the privilege of serving as a member of various committees of prestigious bodies like UGC and NAC. He also has served as an executive committee member in the Tamil Nadu State Council for Higher Education. He is a humble recipient of several prestigious accolades, including Colonel Status by the state of Tamil Nadu for NCC Battalion in 2008, Best Management Leader by the International Business Management Council, Mumbai, 16, National Award for Social Service from the President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, Service Before Self Award from the Rotary International and the Colombo Plan Fellowship by the British Council, United Kingdom in 1992. I would also like to introduce Dr. Ganesh Anand Hegre. Dr. Ganesh Anand Hegre is presently working as an advisor to the National Assessment and Accreditation Council. Mr. Hegre has a rich expertise of assessing and accrediting more than 1,400 institutions of higher learning across the country and has involved himself profusely in designing and conceptualizing assessment manuals in the specialized areas like teacher education in autonomous colleges. Dr. Hegre holds a doctorate degree in mass communication and journalism from the University of Mysore and has served on the board of directors for International Network on Quality Assurance Agencies in Higher Education from 2013 to 2015. We also have present with us, amongst us, in the session, Dr. Neeraj Saxena. Dr. Neeraj Saxena earned his PhD in physics at National Physics Laboratory in New Delhi for his work in the field of acoustic remote sensing and air pollution application. He is currently serving as advisor in the policy and academy and is also on the reputation from the Technology Information Forecasting and Assessment Council, where he has served for 18 years in various senior capacities. He piloted the activities of Mission Reach, the relevance and excellence in achieving new heights in educational institutions, and was deeply involved in preparing first ever roadmap for education as part of Vision 2035 exercise. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to Dr. Rama Kandapallai. Dr. Rama Kandapallai is presently engaged as a consultant with UNESCO, ADB, COL, and various agencies and ministries dealing with higher education and Asia and Africa for developing quality assurance frameworks and structures, capacity building, training, conducting quality audits and evaluations, and drafting the education reform documents. Dr. Kandapallai has more than 30 years of experience in educational administration, policy planning and management, quality assurance and research. She has served various apex agencies in India like Ministry of Human Resource Development, All India Council for Technical Education, National Council for Teacher Education, and NAC in different capacities, and has been an honorary advisor to Commonwealth of Learning, that is COL. I will now request the chairperson, Colonel Dr. G. Kiruvasaga, to kindly take the session forward. So please.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much, Bharati Suri, I believe, for your nice words of introduction. Honorable President of Association of Indian Universities, Dr. Tej Pratap, beloved and respected Secretary General of Association of Indian Universities, Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Honorable Dr. Nagesh Verma, Vice Chancellor of Guru Govind Singh Indraprasad University, learned and most respected panelists of this session, Dr. Neeraj Saxena, Advisor AICTE, Dr. Rama and Dr. Ganesh Hegde, Advisors of NAC, Honorable participating Vice Chancellors. I'm happy that Association of Indian Universities and the host university, Guru Govind Singh Indraprasad University, have given an exclusive session named as an interface with the officials of apex bodies. Invariably in all the regional conferences, especially today also. Equally, I'm happy AICTE and NAC, they have chosen and debuted well-experienced and well-knowledgeable academicians come administrators, Dr. Neeraj Saxena, Dr. Rama, Dr. Ganesh Hegde, to be the panelist for this session. As a matter of fact, we have been longing for a very good document, rather to say a policy, especially to enhance the quality of higher education from the government, especially from MHRD. Our desire has been fulfilled by our Honorable Prime Minister of India by giving a document which has been prepared by Dr. Kasturi Rangan, which we people in higher education strongly feel it's a document of pressure for the higher education in general, very especially education which requires quality enhancement in particular also. Basically, as Vice Chancellors, we are going to have a big challenge. When new policies are coming, all the stakeholders must have basic understanding about the policy. As correctly mentioned by the Secretary General of AAU, Dr. Pankaj Mittal, even today we are searching for a definition for the term, the university called multidisciplinary university. Likewise, the government, it's a challenge to the government, challenge to the students, challenge to the faculty, and most of the challenges we have to face as Vice Chancellors. As universities, nowadays we are working towards getting our credits in the national and international level. Basically, our commitment is towards students at large. We ensure, or we have to ensure, employable education. It's a basic requirement. Those expectation has been somewhat changed and moved by saying that unless your university is adequately evaluated, accredited, you will not be recognized and you will not be encouraged. That is the situation right now. Well, we university people, we are mainly planning, designing, and introducing various programs to fulfill the requirement of the agency like AICTE and NAC. Yes, AICTE is a body which gives affiliation and guides on many aspects, not only in academic, but also entrepreneurship, arranging placement for the students, encouraging students to establish startup, incubation center, etc., etc. Really, AICTE is rendering human service to the higher education. Hopefully, Dr. Saxena will brief in detail as well. As far as the NAC is concerned, they are streamlining all the education institutions of both universities and colleges to come with quality education. Unless one institution is not quality oriented, that institution cannot be given accreditation such a level. Yeah, very big strategy has been expected to follow by all the universities. When it's the case, how we have to proceed further? When we are going to follow the National Education Policy 2020, one side we have to satisfy the other stakeholders. The major challenge is how we are going to face the apex bodies like AICTE, UGC, and the NAC. There are many places in which we have a lot of doubts. We need clarifications. Whether AICTE is going to accommodate the changes which has been proposed by National Education Policy, whether NAC is going to allow the changes in their manual and in the accreditation process as per the suggestions given by National Education Policy. These are all various doubts we have in our mind. We need clarifications from such bodies. Luckily, AAU has been giving such an opportunity to all of us. As mentioned by Dr. Pankaj Mittal, this is the 4th zonal conference of Vice Chancellors. Even the previous conferences of West Zone, East and Central, we have been given an opportunity of interacting with officials of AICTE and NAC. We must thank them a lot. They have deliberated well. They told about what kind of changes they are planning to incorporate the provisions of the National Education Policy, and they have given suitable reply and clarification to the Vice Chancellors who have raised many questions regarding affiliation and ranking also. Advisors of organizations are very much aware that how the university should function hereafter. By having all our requests in mind, during the last session, which was conducted by in the central zone, Dr. Jagannath Patil of NAC, he has mentioned in his speech, NAC has decided to send a proforma to all the university vice chancellors, and vice chancellors are going to be requested to fill up their proforma and give their views on various aspects against the changes proposed by National Education Policy. And as said by him, I promised by him, we have received all the proforma from the NAC, and we are started preparing answers and preparing feedback how we have to give. NAC is seeking inputs from the higher education institutions to review reforms its framework as per the recommendations of National Education Policy 2020. And what they are expecting through this proforma, transforming the regulatory system of higher education. What is our opinion? Because in the National Education Policy, there is a recommendation of establishing HEGC, Higher Education Grants Commission, which is going to be a new establishment by amalgamating all the other affected bodies what we have today, the AICTE, UGC, including NAC also. So they are asking our opinion, how the regulatory body system should be transformed. Likewise, they are asking our opinion regarding institutional restructuring and consolidation. Yes, there are unitary universities. Most of us are unitary universities. Few of them are multidisciplinary universities. But the recommendation is within another 10 years, all the unitary universities should become a multidisciplinary universities. And colleges will be given opportunity to become a degree awarding institutions as well, for which they ask our opinion. Moreover, they are asking our opinion about certain changes in the various parameters, especially 7 criterions, what they want from each higher education institutions, especially changeover to all accreditation frameworks, provision of manuals, QLM and QNM templates, and SOP also. And they are very particular about asking our impression about data validation verification. Do you happy about that, or do you want any change? And they have given opportunity for the vice chancellors to give the opinion about student satisfaction survey, which has 30 marks. And finally, they ask, do you want, if you are a sector focusing university, do you want an exclusive manual to assess and accredit? This kind of details they are asking us. I am requesting all the vice chancellors, please be serious in going through all these proforma and give your opinion without fail. Certainly, as promised by the director of NAC and the advisor of NAC, they will take care of all our grievances and opinion and feedback, and such a way they will go for changes in their own accreditation process as against the National Education Policy 2020. Equally, we are happy. AICTE also started listening us. Right now, the chairman of AICTE, Dr. Anil Sagarabudhe, is presiding over a meeting in his office. Actually, the physical meeting is going on by inviting vice chancellors of the universities of India. Due to various reasons, the strength may not be that much, the attendance may not be that much good, but we must appreciate the spirit and interest of AICTE and especially the chairman. He wants the opinion and remarks of the vice chancellor. What kind of changes you want in the in the handbook of AICTE and various programs of AICTE as well. Likewise, the good climate has been already created by AICTE and NAC to accommodate the Vice Chancellor's ambition, the Vice Chancellor's expectations. With these few words, as a chairman of this session, I would like to tell about the duration of the particular session. Each speaker and panelist can take 10 minutes. There are 3 panelists, so altogether 30 minutes we can give it to the panelists. And it is 40 minutes given to the parting Vice Chancellors to interact with the officials of the affects bodies. If time permits, as a chairman, I can give my final remarks for 3 to 5 minutes. This is our plan. With these words of few words of my remarks, may I invite Dr. Neeraj Saxena, Advisor, AICTE, to give his address, please.
I think I'm in now.
Yes, sir.
I wasn't able to get in. Finally, I'm in. So good afternoon and namaskar to the giants from the academic world. Actually, I wanted to start from where I left last week. And I wanted last week to speak on education without examinations, but I could not complete it there. I thought of starting from there, but I think it will be in fitness of things to start afresh. And if time permits, I'll come back to that and spend time on that. Is it visible?
Visible. You're visible.
Are my slides visible? I could make out.
Not, slides are not visible.
Slides are not. Okay, just a so
Yes, sir. Now we can see your slides.
as academic institutions, we play around with knowledge and resources. They are carbon dioxide and oxygen for us. Knowledge itself is a resource, and you have resources having knowledge embedded in them. And we do research when we convert knowledge into knowledge, resources into knowledge, that becomes invention, resources into resources, production, knowledge into resources, innovation. You can see invention and innovation being opposite of each other in this sense. Universities have to create manpower for all these activities to take place. All through the human history, it was resources getting converted into knowledge and knowledge into knowledge in our academic institutions. But now we see the scales tilting in favor of innovation, that is conversion of knowledge into resources. And that has started challenging the education system. Students, teachers, pedagogy, curriculum, examination, everything needs to change now. So in the academic domain, we have knowledge as the output from knowledge or resources. And the opposite happens in the industry domain. And we have a continuum of research, invention, innovation, and production. So innovation is typically, it requires any idea to have sanction of the market. In academic institution, if you see, it starts with ideation. You have to incubate those ideas and push them, rather the market pulls them and it becomes innovation. So innovations, we are trying to do in institutions, but actually it is not innovation. We have to confine ourselves to ideation, strengthen it, and then have incubations, and then so that the ideas escape the valley of death and move forward into the market. So research, ideation, and incubation is what I feel should be the mandate of academic institutions. I'll just quickly, I'm going through, these are the quality initiatives we started about 3 years back. We revised the model and our existing curriculum and came out with a model curriculum for several disciplines of UG courses, PG courses, management, hotel management, architecture. We introduced the student induction program, which is a three-week program administered at the beginning of the course. Teacher training policy we have introduced, and right now there are a number of programs being run, and it is for the starters or for the new teachers in the education system. This is being made mandatory, so they have to undergo 1 year training before they actually get fully inducted into this. Student internship is towards making our students industry ready. Accreditation is for improving the quality of our institutions, the courses. We had this perspective plan to decide what we should focus on, what should be our priorities. We are into examination reforms, and this is where I wanted to touch. If time permits, I will dwell upon it at length. Then promoting innovation in startup. And we have several schemes through which we support the institutions, the faculty, and the students, the institutions. So infrastructure development, we have ModRobs, which is for modernization of laboratories. Cafes is campus accommodation, facilitating social experiences. We have special scheme for Northeastern region to solve their water and electricity problem. Spices is a scheme for promoting interest, creativity, and ethics among students. This is for the student clubs. We have faculty development programs. All the information is already there on our website. One can just get all the information. So research is supported through these research promotion scheme, Ishod Sindhu grant for conferences, and all this. Innovation initiatives through the ministry's innovation cell position in AICT. They conduct hackathons. They have created Institute Innovation Council, ARIA ranking, and all these. Now, AICT has come out recently with a new concept, which is Idea Lab. IDEA is an acronym standing for Idea Development, Evaluation, and Application. It basically is going to support ideation. I said in my previous slide that we need to strengthen ideation. So this is what we are going to push now. These are going to be 24/7 laboratories against the traditional labs, which remain open as long as the faculty wants. These are going to be managed by the students. And the idea is to train the students on 21st century skills and also the faculty. So this we believe is going to be a game changer in technical education, because we don't want students to be passing out with just knowledge. We get the feedback from our industries that more than 50% of the graduates are not employable. So this is a change that we want to bring in. We have started working on this, and very soon, maybe in a month or two, you will hear Idea Labs springing up in different parts of the country. So this was in response to Honorable Prime Minister's call that our experiments should be guiding principle of new age learning. So we, as an answer to this, as a response to this, we are positioning the Idea Labs. In the last meet that we had, I talked about preparing universities to brace for COVID moment. Basically, it was to mainstream the online education. We know that the online learning starts from row one of our classrooms. We must admit it. We cannot ignore this fact. It's time to mainstream it and put experiential learning at the center of education, not theory, but experiential learning, and let the students connect that experience with the theory. So it needs to be the other way. Now, I was to speak on this last week, moving towards education without examination. I have come prepared with my slides, but I will not touch those slides. Instead, I will just pour out my heart for this. In fact, I wrote a blog on this, and this is about the examinations that universities conduct. Proctored test of fixed duration, demanding recall of predetermined content. So all through these pandemic times, there was a rush, there was a sort of a competition, how to stop students from copying. I'm shocked. Why there was no effort to get better answers? Why do we put cameras before our students only to get what is already there in the books? We should move away from that. And that's why we need education without examination. And by examinations, I mean the ones which require recall of memory. It is not serving, it's an outdated concept which evolved when teachers and books were the only source of learning. In the last 30 years, we have seen democratization of education, of knowledge, and examination that we conduct do not fit. We cannot stop any scientist or any doctor from consulting a Google or any source of information when he practices. Then why are we training our students by stopping them from consulting the manuals or the books? It's because that we do not prepare good questions. We are not ready for that. We teach and test on what is already there in the books. And we dream of people who have capability of solving problems. It's antithesis of what we actually are talking about. So degrees have, examinations have been there facilitating clearing of grades, upwardly progression, conferring degrees, admitting people into elite folds, basically for grading, segregating, and labeling scholars. Can a human really pass or fail? In the first session, in the inaugural session, Professor Mahesh Verma, he said, each one of us is unique. Every student is unique, every human is unique. Then why same exam for each individual? Why grade them? Only an object meeting or not meeting predetermined parameters can fail or pass. So do examinations fit into learning process and academic transactions? Why not check a person for what he or she can do? Why identify a person with what he cannot do or is lacking in? So examinations why have been there? So they have been there as tools or interventions because the knowledge was not readily accessible as and when needed until the recent decades for application to just in case situations. And committing to the memory was the only option available to us. So we had to mug up things with a belief that someday that will help us in executing our task in our professional careers. And somehow we have a belief that those who are able to reproduce with accuracy are better placed to apply knowledge also. And this is not turning out to be true, as we see the innovators. So high scorers have been privileged to better opportunities in higher studies and jobs. And we have arrived in the knowledge era and can feel that knowledge stands democratized. And for the first time in human history, same knowledge is accessible to all. Any individual can access same knowledge. So that we need to change the way we examine and even do our education. Examination, as we have, expects students to regurgitate what is there in the books. And let us admit that this quest to reproduce prompts the students to copy in a bid to score over each other. What makes it worse is that students get initiated into this copying with support of clueless teachers. And it starts from class 1 itself, when we expect the student to reproduce what has been taught by the teacher. So isn't it ironic that past the higher professional education received after clearing exams, we expect the employees at the workplaces to be ethical and persons of integrity, taught only inside the class to be out of the box thinkers. Those made to strictly follow the instructions and not to question are asked to be visionaries. What a contrast we have. What we actually need is to give a person learning experience, not knowledge, learning experience, which will always be accompanied by failures, opportunity to correct by self, and most important of all, experience with theory and correct the practical language. As I indicated in one of the previous slides, that AICTE has gone for examination reforms. So we have a policy which has Bloom's taxonomy at its heart. And Bloom's taxonomy is hierarchical, which means that learning at the higher level requires skills which automatically take care of the lower ones. So the question papers that we actually create now are for the bottom of that taxonomy, basically to check remembering, understanding, and applying. We stop at that. That's because we have limited hours to examine the students, and we tend to end up examining their memories. I think the time is ripe. I expand EXAM as examining Xeroxing ability of mind. So that's what our exams are reduced to. Instead, we should have TASK, task, which is testing of abilities, skills, and knowledge. Unless we expand, we are going to stuck with checking the people for head, not hands and heart. So we need to examine or test our students, future workforce on all these three aspects: head, hands, and heart. That makes them complete graduate. So AIC policy emphasizes that assessment must be for testing higher level skills, that is, ability to apply knowledge, solve complex problems, analyze, synthesize, and design. So this policy is already available on the internet. We also propose open book examinations and reduce the questions for testing the memory only to 30%. Now, this pandemic throws an opportunity to us to reset this examination button as we have presently, which is anachronistic. And we need to profusely infuse into the courses generous dosage of projects, open-ended experiments and laboratories, project-based learning modules, co-curricular experiences, internships, a portfolio of experiences, which allow acquisition of disciplinary knowledge along with other abilities. So shift focus from examination to assessments is what we recommend. Incidentally, I just worked out some back of the envelope calculation, trying to find out how many answer sheets are filled up in limited hours, which get thrown away every year without contributing even a single new idea or a solution. And that costs us 66 lakh trees. So we pay some environmental cost also. So we need to rethink about the examination part of it, allow room for students to be imaginative and creative, build infrastructure and ecosystems for the same, train the teachers to be key enablers of the ecosystem for innovation, enliven curricula with real challenges, and replace examinations with personalized and adaptive assessment. I think I'll stop here. Time permits, I'll come back.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saxena. Really, last week, we didn't get time to speak about education without examination.
Yeah.
Yes, you have given much emphasis on Idea Lab and other programs of AICT, which we have taken it really interesting and seriously also. Lot of participants they raised questions on Idea Lab. Hopefully, time permits, you can tell about this program during the question and answer session.
Right, sir.
Basically, you have opened a Pandora box.
Yes, sir.
A country like India, ours is the second largest system as far as higher education system is concerned. Ours is the second largest in the world. Even the developed countries, they didn't test about examination, education without examination. Only the school level, for certain stage, all the government, even governments of various countries, they started introducing. The higher education level, they didn't think about it. After listening you regarding testing higher level skills and testing application of knowledge, not only that, even we have to test the students' involvement in internship, co-curricular activities. Really fascinating recommendations you have given, and by which we can test the imagination and creativity of the student also. Moreover, you made a calculation about amount of expenditure involved in the present system of conducting examination. Hopefully, there will be a lot of questions during the question hour session. Please prepare, sir. And I have to thank for sharing a lot of information about the AICT and its program of students, faculty induction, students internship, and various other programs also. We will come to you after listening other panelists, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for a nice speech. May I invite Dr. Rama, who is the former advisor of NAC and give address, please. Your address, please. Dr. Rama. If there is any technical issue, may invite Dr. Ganesh Gette, Advisor NAC, please.
Vijender, find out what is the issue.
Yeah. Yeah, post-university coordinator, could you please check with analysts what difficulty they face?
Yes, we are checking, sir. Actually, Dr. Rama Kondapallai has logged in also, but we just have to check. Just a second.
Otherwise, we
No.
can.
Are they confusing with me because they are spotlighting me? We have to tell
No,
them that it is Dr. K. Rama from NAC.
Okay, NAC, if it is any difficulty, we can call Dr. Ganesh Gette to address.
Actually, I
Advisor.
don't see both of them as joined, so there is some issue. Let me check, sir.
So we need not waste our time. Shall I invite Vice Chancellors? Can you please put questions with Dr. Saxena, please? Vice Chancellors are invited. So just you can place your questions with Dr. Saxena, Advisor of AICTE. I'm inviting participating Vice Chancellors. You can very well clarify your doubts and we can get details about the programs of AICTE, especially about the changing environment after introduction of the national education policy. Whatever you want, you can put the questions with him as.
Speak. Mute कर दूंगा.
Vice Chancellor, would you like to raise any question?
Hello.
Yeah, you are very audible.
Hello.
Sir. Yes, yes.
I am Professor R.K. Mittal, Vice Chancellor, Chaudhary Bansilal University, Bhiwani.
Yes, sir.
So what I feel is, sir, I am audible. What I feel
very
is
much audible.
that
Very much audible. Very much audible. Yeah. Sorry, disconnected.
May I ask?
Yes.
And other type of things have to be developed. So
Okay.
it would be a mix. It would be a mix of both the
Professor,
papers.
yeah, Professor Mittal, can you please repeat the question? Actually, you are not audible in between. Can you please repeat
No, what?
it?
No, my just question is, or in a way, a sort of supplementary, that a mix of both present system of examination system where students are asked to attempt question plus some other form of matrices on which a student would be evaluated to test his practical understanding, his participation in sports, cultural, and you can say social activities, so that a balance of all these things are tested comprehensively of the students. Simply, I mean, a mix of all these things would be required to develop a good examination system.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor, sir. Dr. Saxena, would you like to respond?
Actually, we have lived with technologies, we embrace technologies. And when we embrace technologies, we actually outsource some of our abilities to them. Now the time has come when we have started outsourcing our memory also. We don't remember the phone numbers. No. We don't try to remember many other things. It can be just fetched. As of now, it requires just a computer. You have to type or click, you get it. Just wait for few more years. We are getting brain-computer interface. You won't have to even type. Just think and it will be there. So we are moving towards that. So in that scenario, it makes no sense to check the memorizing capability of the student. It's all about how well, how promptly, or how in what good manner can we make use of the resources and the knowledge to make something better, something more creative. And that's what innovation and whole focus of education is shifting towards that. That's because knowledge is freely available. We can access. If it is not, it can be created. It can be even pulled. It can be even fetched from others. We don't need to actually test. And definitely, we need to prepare questions which have no answers. And if in the process of attempting, a student finds an answer, it's fine. You have trained. If he doesn't end up with an answer, you're still trained. So getting an answer which is already there is not teaching anymore. It prepares you only for the past jobs or the present job. It doesn't prepare you for the future. The skills change so fast these days. A BTech is 4 years, but by the time the student graduates, the world has changed. So we need to bring focus on skills rather than knowledge, which can be fetched, but it requires the institutions like yours to prepare people, the graduates, to fetch that knowledge, use the resources, give something new. That's where we should be training our young graduates. And it requires identifying and creating problems which are open-ended, and we must even go for involving industries to put questions, inviting society to.
What happened to the young people?
So it is just not the academic institution which should be doing this. We need to transcend. We need to find questions from outside. Otherwise, we are not going to train, especially the engineers with whom we deal. If they are not able to see beyond the portals or the boundaries of their own institutions, they're not going to be really that effective in their workplace.
Any other questions, please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Here, I'm Dr. Muddu Vinay. I'm the Vice Chancellor, ICFA University, Dehradun. See, I have a question that now when it comes to the examination system, most of us we are not using the program outcomes, course outcomes, and how we are preparing. We are not preparing the questions on par the this outcome-based learning. Especially what Neeraj says, that the student should have the practical, theoretical knowledge should be assessed through the program outcomes and the learning outcomes.
So AICT is conducting series of workshops. Right now also it's going on to train teachers on preparing question papers with questions which test your higher cognitive abilities. So we are on the job. We are conducting a series of workshops. I myself coordinated about 3 or 4 workshops during the pandemic. But the issue is that the faculty are very enthusiastic. They jump at this idea, join the course, but when they go back, all the enthusiasm is lost. And they just go back, look at past 4 or 5 years examination papers, and then a new paper is created. So in effect, examination is like the activities prior to exams are, they're supposed to be for cracking the questions. But what actually happens is cracking the question paper pattern.
Dr. Ganesh Hegde has joined.
हाँ मैडम नमस्ते.
Manji, namaskar. Dr. Sirupasagam, I was telling him he'll be inviting you for. We were waiting for you for a long time.
Sorry, I was having a standing committee meeting, so that is just over.
Okay. I'm happy, Dr. Ganesh Hegde.
Sir,
it's okay, fine. We are eagerly waiting to listen you as well. I think due to some technical issue, you are not able to join. You are most welcome to this session. And already Dr. Sakshen of AICT, he has delivered a session and started giving reply to the questions raised by the Honorable Vice Chancellors. Now it's a time to you, sir. You can deliver your address now. Please, sir.
Dr. Hegde, you are expected to tell what new is happening in NAC, which will be of use to the universities for accreditation, and including if something about national education policy, if you want to mention that what will be the role of NAC after the NEP is implemented. And also, Sirupasagam sir, Dr. Ramai is not coming, so Dr. Ganesh Hegde will be the only one.
Okay, fine. Thank you. I will take note of it. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Welcome to the sessions. Thank you very much for giving an opportunity here to share some of the things which are new happening in the NAC. NAC has revised the accreditation framework in 2017. Basically, from the last 2 years, we have assessed more than 1,500 colleges, and more than 70 universities have been accredited under the new revised accreditation framework. Now, as the theme is that the multidisciplinary approach and innovations. In the third criteria, NAC has added a new indicator, which is called the research innovations and extension. Innovations ecosystem has been added from the 2017. In the curriculum, the multidisciplinary approach has been asked in the curriculum, and in the extension also, the multidisciplinary approach and how it is implemented has been asked. And in the 7th criteria, which is called the institutional values and best practices, there also some of the things which are extension related has been asked. Now, in the NEP 2020, which is going to come in the near future, in the NEP, the committee suggested that in the long run, there are 2 scales will be there, which is called the accredited or not accredited, like that the NEP has suggested. So new revised accreditation framework, which NAC has introduced, which has been the quantitative metrics and the qualitative metric. More focus is on the quantitative nature. For example, if you take the consideration of the university system, 73% comes as the quantitative and 27% comes as the qualitative. So qualitative has been drastically reduced, which if you look into the revised accreditation framework. If any question is there, we will look into it.
It's a very ample opportunity given to all the Vice Chancellors, because right now, well experienced official of NAC is available for us. He has given brief introduction about what kind of accreditation framework right now we have, what they are proposing also. Please, Vice Chancellors, come forward and put your questions.
हम कर सकते हैं अनु वेणुगोपालन नहीं हो सकता वो करेंगे रोहित
just one query from there's one question from Professor Pravinder Singh. Can we take his question, please?
Yes.
Yeah, we can unmute him.
we can't
If you have any question through chat box, that also you can just place before him as well.
Yeah, there's a question like why we are not moving towards open book examinations. One of the questions, and then do you think that in online mode we can judge the student on the basis of internal evaluation? One more question, do you think that we have to distinguish between the text and the examination? These are some of the questions.
Okay, these are all the questions to be answered by Dr. Saxena. Please, sir.
Sirivasagam, sir. I'll just
Yeah, please, sir.
I'll just share the screen with you.
Okay.
Just a second, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
You are able to see the screen, sir? Right
Very
now?
well, sir. Very well, sir. Very well, sir.
Now, I just would like to, because 2 seconds, I just put the presentation before you. As I suggested, accreditation criteria, which depends upon the 7 criteria. Now, the question comes with the second criteria, with the teaching, learning, and evaluation. Now, the evaluation method, the institution can adopt any type of the method, which is called the open book examination. Open book examination institution can adopt. Nobody is saying that you should not do it. But 70-30, sometimes the choice-based credit system, 70-30 will be there, 80-20 will be there. Depending upon the university to university, choice-based credit system will be implemented. Now, open book examination also, institution can adopt the evaluation methodology in the second criteria, which comes also for the NAAC accreditation in the second criteria. As the thematically, today's the thematic was the holistic and multidisciplinary education with the technology integration. I'll just take a half a minute from you to share with you what NAAC is in the accreditation system, which they are focusing upon. What you call the holistic development. In the curriculum enrichment, NAAC is asking the holistic development of the students is the main purpose of the curriculum, while attempted through the prescribing dynamic and the curricular input, and also the expected outcomes will be there. In the key indicator extension activities, NAAC is looking about the extension activities conducted as well as the holistic development during the last 5 years. So the last 5-year data is more important. In the criteria, student support and progression, which is there in the 5th criteria, which is also looking for the holistic development of the student progression. It may be placement, or it may be the on-job training, and how holistic development has been done. That is the question is coming up. In the student participation and activities also, fostering the holistic development, overall development of the student. It may be girl or it may be boy. Looking into the various factors which comes into the rural, urban, gender will be there. So all type of the institutions will be there for the upliftment of the student participation. Another thing which just I would like to share with you in the criteria 3, which comes with a multidisciplinary approach, which NAAC is asking a question on the resource mobilization and research, wherein faculty must be empowered to take up the research activities in the interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and interdepartmental. For example, 2 departments, chemistry department and botany department, can take up the joint interdisciplinary approach also, or sociology department and the geology department can take up the interdepartmental what to call research activities also. This type of the what to call interdisciplinary approach, suppose it may be medical to the social science, and social science to the medical also, we can take into the that type of the things. And in the criteria technology integration. There is a infrastructure and development. There is a technology integration will be there. In one of the criteria of the NAC, in the infrastructure and learning resources, promoting the use of technology is the core value of the NAC, and accreditation depends upon the data validation and verification. You can give the document. For example, Professor Neeraj Saxena will be the Vice Chancellor, and he will be submitting the self-study report to the NAC. Now, geotagged photograph will be there. ICT-enabled service will be there. All things at the NAC, we can sitting here at the Bangalore, we can check, cross-validate those things through the 70%. NAC is also promoting the use of technology since beginning. From the present system is a technology oriented, and in the e-governance, administration, finance, accounts, student admission, support system, and examination. So one question came as an examination part of the e-governance. So examination is one of the things which you can integrate, and the result declared also can be done. And many universities in the lockdown period, they have gone for the online examinations. So this is also another thing which NAC is also promoting. In fact, ICT infrastructure is one of the key indicator in the NAC assessment also. So Divyangjan friendly campus. One more thing which I would like to share with you here: differently abled person, accessible website, screen reading software, and mechanized equipment is also there in the institution. That is also, it may be small, percentage may be small, but still NAC is also looking about those facilities available in the institution. So this is what I would like to share for the theme of the today's webinar.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Ganesh Hegde. Now the floor is before you, and the Vice Chancellors can very well raise their questions, or rather to say, get things clarified.
If Dr. Rama from NAC is there, would she like to add anything?
I think she's not here.
I think, Madam, she has disconnected somehow. That's what she called me.
Okay. Okay, no issues.
Technical problems. I think she has been out there. That's the reason she called me, Madam.
Okay.
Any question is there, we will be able to take up from the universities.
Sir, basically, and we have components of multidisciplinary approach and IT integration in various criterions of our manual.
Sir.
It is there already. But when it's a question of Unitary University becoming a multidisciplinary university, you have to extend your area of expectation, and the grading also should be taken to a higher level. Because whatever guidelines you have, whatever framework you have, it's a general framework for all type of institutions right now.
Sir.
When lot of importance is given for multidisciplinary university, what type of changes you anticipate, what types of changes you can bring in the regulations and the framework, sir?
Sir, right now we have come up with the new guideline which will be coming up in the NAC in the near future. Director NAC has constituted a committee already to look into the new education policy and the way forward for the NAC. Right now it is in a discussion stage. Right now I am not able to comment right now. I think in the near future we will publish in the NAC website, sir.
Any other question? Dr. Pankaj Mathil wants to say something.
Madam.
Nothing. Just Dr. Hegde, you are now trying to have for universities which are specialized universities, Are you trying to have a different set of parameters so that they are not put to a disadvantage? For example, Emmet University, which is dealing only with shipping and mining. So like this, I mean, if there are specialized universities which are either single disciplinary, maybe the NEP says that they will become multidisciplinary, but as of now they are single disciplinary. So do you have a separate set of parameters for them?
No, right now it is in a discussion stage, madam. For example, language universities, then the women universities are there. There are some universities which are purely on a technical side, they are there. So different type of the universities also, request is coming from the different corners to the NAC to look into the assessment criteria, as well as the way of approach on the assessment should be differ. That is the reason director has constituted a committee already with the approval of the chairperson. And in the near future, within the 3 months, we will come with a new guideline for the NEP 2020.
So some specific categories are included there, or any specialized institution it will be, I mean, because for every specialized institution, there will be a different set of parameters required.
Madam, actually, there is a committee has been constituted already in the NAC. Right now, it is in the discussion stage for this type of the things. Some request is also coming from the rural and urban thing also. Some is also coming as a young universities, basically 10 years old universities. Some are the what to call 50, 70, 80 years old universities are there. And there is a request is also coming from the affiliating universities, basically, because when you compare to the affiliating university to central universities also, so parameters should be different. So from the various what to call discipline type institutions, request is coming. That is the reason we are collecting all the information. And if you have any suggestions at this moment also, we will welcome your suggestion and we'll put forth before the committee, madam. They can send a feedback to the director NAC, director.nac@gmail.com. This is the email ID, and we look forward for your suggestions.
And how quickly you are moving on to binary?
Right now, whatever the pendency were there in the what you call the COVID-19 situation, we are coming up, and I think as and when this NEP will be implemented, maybe take what you call 6 months to 1 year, because you need to give a time to the institution to adopt the new guideline, and well in advance you have to announce that when you are going to change the things. Right now it is in a discussion stage.
No, it is only an observation, Dr. Hegde.
Yes.
It's not a question of finding fault and all.
Sir.
When these type of things are getting delayed, the sector focusing universities are already suffering. Few of them already submitted SSR, few of them already have got a lesser grading due to the disadvantages what they have with this format. That's a problem. Already I'm happy you have given separate format for education universities,
correct,
open universities,
yes, sir,
including Sanskrit universities,
yes, sir,
medical, dental, pharmacy, like that.
Yes,
there
sir.
are universities of forensic university, which was
Yes,
started
yes,
as per the wish of our Honorable Prime Minister. And
Yes,
there is a university called Music and Dance.
Sir.
And as said by Dr. Mittal, there is a university meant for maritime education.
Sir.
That and all, already, they have been suffering because of non-availability of a specific and exclusive format. And pretty well, UGC or other funding agencies, nowadays they come forward on the basis of the grading, what they are getting from NAC.
Correct.
And of course, the NIRF also. So because of the handicap, what these institutions have in the framework or guideline, they are not able to be accessible to the funding agency to get the benefit. That is an issue.
Sir, right now I am not able to comment on the questions which you have suggested, and I feel that as part of this webinar, you can send a small report to the director NAC, and already a committee has been constituted, and I think within 1 month they are going to meet and taking the suggestions from you, sir, as part of the thing, you can just send a suggestion to the director.nac@gmail.com, and then we will look into it here, sir.
Dr. Rama Kondapalli is there. Would you like to add anything, Dr. Rama? Dr. Rama, I can see her.
Our Dr. Rama Devi is there.
Yes, sir.
No, this is Rama Kondapalli.
Okay.
Dr. Rama, madam.
So there is a technical issue with her. Can you please proceed? There is another question. If you can from the chat box, can I read out?
Ha, madam.
Okay. This is how to overcome the digital divide among educational institutes across India and among people coming from different states of society.
Could you just repeat the question?
This is how to overcome digital divide among educational institutes across India and among people coming from different strata of the society.
In due course of time, it will be, I think, set right. I feel the one thing which I would like to share with you, and the government of India is that we should go along with the government of India, the new initiatives. It may be the IT policy or the data to be given to the AISHE data or an NIRF data or a NAC assessment data or any other ranking also. But the data should be prepared by the institution. That's what I feel. I always share one of the things is that one institution, one data should be there. That means the vice chancellor also will be telling you one data, and the registrar also will be stating the same data. Because unless institution gives a proper data, we are not able to go ahead with the any type of the NIRF ranking or AISHE data, whatever it may be. But the institution should give the proper data. Now coming to the digital divide, depending upon the various geographical location, here and there we may have the network issues will be there. That is going to happen. I think in the due course of time, the government of India will also take the note of that one. And मैं ऐसा सोचता हूँ ताली दो हाथ से बजता है. Government also will take an initiative. Institution also will take an initiative. ये नहीं है, उधर नहीं है, ऐसा नहीं करके नहीं होता है. But we also should take a note of that one and use the best of the best things available at that particular time.
Yes, the government is doing a lot to bridge the digital divide. The government is spending more on technology rather than the brick and mortar structure. And in any case, the private universities, the private sector is coming out because the digital divide was very much evident during the COVID time. So the government as well as the private sector both are investing in technology to bridge the technology device, and the schemes like donated device and all, they are being contemplated so that this issue can be addressed.
Yeah, ma'am. Madam is available now. Dr. Rama, can we include her?
Dr. Rama, you want to add something? Dr. Rama from NAC. I think she has some technical issues.
Madam,
Dr. Rama, you want to say something? No, you're not able to hear.
Mute the नहीं
There's some audio mic problem.
Madam, do you have any question in the chat box? Do you have any question?
I have mentioned all of them to you.
Okay, fine. Any questions from other participants, please? Dr. Saxena, I think he wants to say something as a concluding remark.
So I just wanted to make an appeal to the vice chancellors who are in assembly today. Please embrace open and virtual learning. That is the future. Bring in experiential learning at the center stage. Let the students connect that with the theory. In real life, we learn to talk first and then learn the grammar. We learn to ride a bicycle and then understand laws of motion. We start eating food and later in the life we come to know about the nutrients. So first it is a practical, then it is a theory. In real life we experience first and then connect with theory. We should do the same in our academic institutions. Instead of having a curriculum and placing it before the students, pose challenges, problems, issues. Let the students make use of the knowledge available, resources available, and get trained in solving them before they actually walk out of the portals of the universities and end up in a profession, as a professional. Enhance or give weightage to peer evaluation and peer learning. These are missing now. We must take on board. Last week, Professor P.V. Sharma was telling about his grandson knowing more than him. It's true now. The students, the learners who are able to reach out, have access, equitable access to knowledge, can really solve problems, can get involved. Also, encourage collaborative learning. And finally, no to exam. By exam, I mean examining, xeroxing ability of mind. We must stop that. We must move on. There is a lot more to be taught to the students to become better graduates. Thank you. I stop here.
That's great, sir. Professor Ganesh said there is no more question from Vice Chancellor. Would like to give any final remarks, Dr. Hegde? What NAC wants from Vice Chancellors?
Sir?
At this moment.
At this moment, I just would like to share with you, sir, that every institution should undergo the process of accreditation. That is my way of looking for the quality improvement and quality enhancement. NAC is a byproduct of your good work which you are doing in the institution. Whether it is a 10 years old institution or a 50 years old institution, affiliating university, state university, or a private university. I feel that at least first cycle, second cycle, or third cycle, any cycle for that matter, it should be accredited. Why I am suggesting that one? Because our employers, our foreign universities, if a student, ex-university student is going to any foreign universities, and the first thing the foreign university is asking whether you come from an accredited program or you're an accredited university. So then they will ask you that whether it's a grade or a whatever the grade. And my request to the universities is that because the student mobility is more, it is not the earlier days. Now the student mobility is more from the state to state to the national to the international. In that case, ultimately, for whom we are working, it is for the students the universities are working. So students need to be taken care. In the sense, the students, when they go out from our higher education institutions, they should be satisfied in two ways. One is employment, or it may be a knowledge which comes to them, and they will be going to the further studies. Anything, it may be from BSc to the MSc, MSc to the PhD, or maybe the postdoctoral fellow also. But the accreditation plays a vital role. Knowingly or unknowingly, people are looking for the accreditation things. Parents, before their word to put on a particular university, they will be asking that to the vice chancellor or a principal, stating that whether your university or a college has undergone any third-party validation, or which is called the accreditation. For them, accreditation or assessment, they may not be knowing, but they only know that somebody has assessed you, stating that you are in a good institution. So that is what the parents are looking for, the things. At the end, for the employment, for the employers also looking for the accreditation right now. So in the sense, I request all the university vice chancellors to go for the accreditation, because there are more than 1079 universities are there. So around 349 or 350 or universities have been accredited, and many have come for second, third, and cycle. But still, there are around 60% of them are yet to be accredited in the Indian context. I humbly request the universities to go for accreditation, and NAC is there to help those universities through webinar or a resource, or to have any interactive sessions with the vice chancellor and the faculty. And our director, Professor S.C. Sharma ji, is a very dynamic person, and he will agree to have an interactive session with the any universities. I request to take the advantage of that one, and to go for the accreditation. So they can make a small, in a sense, in the 6th criteria, governance and leadership and management, NAC is telling what to call the perspective plan and a strategic plan. Perspective plan in the sense, if you become a vice chancellor, within 1 year, what you would like to do. And a long-term plan is a what to call a vision which you would like to achieve at the target at the 3 years or 4 years or 5 years down the line. So you need to make a plan. Somebody said, if you does not plan, you plan to fail. So you need to plan. Planning is more important. I feel that all vice chancellors take a note of that one and apply to the NAC in a phased manner.
So thank you very much, Dr. Saxena and Dr. Hegde as well.
Sir.
Basically, I don't know, vice chancellors are not coming forward to put questions large in number, because they are very happy about the presentation made by our experts. And moreover, I want to make an appeal to all the vice chancellors. Now the doors are opened to receive your request, comments, and remarks, and what change you want in the guidelines of AICTE and the regulation of NAC as well. As such, already NAC sent a proforma. We should not fail in filling up the proforma and give our views on the various aspects of national education policy, what kind of change we want. In general, vice chancellors, may think now we are part of Association of India University. These various conferences are going on. The recommendations, whatever they are going to put forward with the government or with the apex bodies of AICTE and NAC is enough. No. Here we get an opportunity to discuss in general. Each university is unique. You have your own individual problems and individual perceptions as well. So each one of us must put forward our request, put forward our view, put forward our feedback, put forward our appeal to all the apex bodies. Certainly, as said by our Dr. Hegde, Dr. Sharma is a chairman. He is a very, 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 very receptive person, and he listens people and he interacts with the people. Like he was chairman of AICTE also, he is a person of moving with the vice chancellors, and he prepares to accommodate all the requests. When such people are with us, we should not miss the opportunity. We must make use of their good mind and heart and see that our request will be placed in time and which will be resolved aptly by the apex bodies. With these words of my final remarks, once again, I would like to thank the panelists, Dr. Saxena and Dr. Hegde, for joining with us and shared their eminent and expertise remarks with the people. Unfortunately, we are not able to listen Dr. Rama due to some technical difficulty. She has not joined. Anyway, I would like to convey our respects to her. Thank you very much indeed to every one of you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Dr. Rama also conveyed her messages stating that due to technical problems, she could not rejoin again. So she conveyed the thanks to all the members, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So we need to introspect and see what we all can do to, I think the emphasis is on creativity and critical thinking of the student now. And open and virtual learning is actually the future of our country. And since we have to be in line with the internationally with the other part of the world. So on the behalf of Association of Indian Universities and Guru Gobind Singh International University, we extend a heartfelt thanks to the chairperson and the speakers of the session to have given us a broad outline of various issues of importance, which this meet is going to deliberate upon and during this coming days, today and tomorrow. So we'll rejoin at 2 p.m. for the first technical session for today. So we'll break for the lunch. Thank you so much.